Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn. I do videos on astrology and Feng Shui, and today we are talking about astrology. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Please hit the subscribe button. Hit that like button if you like videos like this, because it really helps out the channel. And if you don't know me, again, welcome to the channel. I am a professional astrologer. I've been doing astrology for a long, long time. I've written 16 books. I write a weekly sun signs column on sunsigns.com. I also write for horoscope.com and astrology.com. And in the description box below, there is a link to a PDF if you need a copy of your chart, which does include my email, where you can just send me your information and I will send you a copy of your chart. Okay, let's get started. Okay, Gemini natives, you guys are doing this eclipse in your house of money. And that means you're needing to change how you handle money, that your money is going to change. That can mean there is an interruption in your income, but it is temporary. It also could mean there's a big jump in your income over the next 6 months. And so you have many opportunities, but this is something that you are going to say, when you look back, I knew this was coming. I recognized it was coming. Maybe you've been taking action all along. Maybe you just got a new job. That's fantastic. That means you're ahead of the energy. Maybe you started a side business a while back and that's starting to pay. Again, that's you being intuitive and being ahead of the energy. But if you have been in the same position for a long time, you can expect some changes. The issue, of course, that I've been talking about, which I talked about in the overview video, is that this is a zero eclipse. And so when I say, okay, there's changes, you might say, I don't see it. I don't know what they are. I don't know what to do to make money. That's understandable. It's a zero. And that's where you say to yourself, well, how do I wish this would happen? What would be the best thing for me? What am I interested in? Because those give you hints of direction to start. And then you start on many different paths at once, which is perfect for Gemini natives because you're the only ones who can do that. The rest of us have to do things one at a time. You guys can multitask. And so go ahead and start these multiple directions at once. Perhaps it's a side business, affiliate marketing, some sort of business on the side, maybe working with some family members, maybe doing an extra business, or maybe going to your boss and saying, hey, what are the other opportunities if, I'm maybe done with what I was doing, or maybe it's just a time to transition out of there. So the more things you try, the better off you're going to be, because this change, all of these changes, when you look back in a few months, you're going to be so happy that it happened. Now, because you're doing the inconjunct to Saturn in the 9th house, you may think that going back to school is the answer, and possibly it is. However, if you're not sure what you're going to study, which that Saturn at 0 says that that's a possibility, that may not be the best way to go. And so while you are applying for school, go out on YouTube and go out to some of these places where they do online courses and start taking this information. Take some of the easy courses, take some of the hard courses, and see if you really like it before you plunk down a bunch of money to a college to study where you're going to have to go through things in a very regimented way. Now, of course, if you're wanting to do something like nursing or be a doctor or something that really requires a formal education, by all means, this is the best year to go and do it, because a lot of people who are entering college right now, or who would be entering college, are going to take a gap year because they don't want to do online training. So you would have a better chance of getting into your college of your choice. But if you are undecided, or if you're just saying, oh, you know what, I'm thinking about just doing business, then I would point you toward someone like Tim Ferriss, who actually did some videos on how he took the money he would have spent on a few semesters at a fine school and he applied that to starting businesses, and he learned much more doing that than he did sitting in a classroom. So consider that, because the Saturn is at 0, get your education in an unconventional way. Now, the North Node, South Node is in the 1-7, which does talk about relationships, but it also is about how you're communicating with yourself. What do you say to yourself? Are you encouraging? Are you kind to yourself? Are you forgiving to yourself? Or are you so hard on yourself and yet so kind to other people? And so that would make it out of balance. This North Node, South Node placement also talks about the relationships you have with other people are what lead you towards the success and your goals that you want, because these are the people who can open doors for you. So looking at the people that you hang out with, if they're all the ones who are just sitting on the sofas, playing video games all day, and you want to go be a musician or you want to go be an artist, they're not helping you. So perhaps you limit the time you spend with them and go find some people who are doing the things that you want to do. Now, this North Node, South Node is getting that square from Mars in the 10th house, which is your career house. And so that does say, look for new friends and new acquaintances, new relationships through people that maybe you work with or people who are doing something you aspire to. Now, because this Mars is elevated, also use the spiritual means to pull in that energy. And so through prayer, meditation, affirmations, you can attract people to you. So instead of maybe doing a vision board, why don't you do a wish list of people that you can meet? And then the universe can work on that, opening doors for you that way. As I talked about in the overview video, Venus and Mercury are retrograde. Venus is retrograde in your sign of Gemini, which is causing you to look at what you're doing and rethink it, which is a really good thing to do because the things that you've wanted in the past are changing. So you might have been a person who always opted for the vanilla ice cream, but now mint chocolate chip sounds good. Or maybe you've decided to give up sugar entirely. Because that Venus is retrograde, you are rethinking what you like. And because the Mercury is retrograde in your second house, you're also rethinking purchases. So that when you make an automatic purchase, and this is in Cancer, so perhaps it's food related, beverage related, maybe those automatic purchases don't need to happen. Maybe you need to learn to cook at home, but it says rethink how you are spending your money. And that way you can have more money accumulation. When it comes to relationships, there's no relationship right now between Mercury and Jupiter, and so relationships are difficult. You're out of sync. You're not really connecting at the same way that you were, of course, before the pandemic. And so you are still going to have to wait a little while longer. And so if you are in an existing relationship, there may be some arguments about money, and it's time to step back and look at each other as a partner and look at each other as though that person has your best interests in mind, you have their best interests in mind, and approach your conversations that way, rather than having an argument or trying to best each other. So because you're out of sync, it's more challenging to do this, but it's worthwhile. If you're looking for love, this is challenging because the ruler of the 1st and the 7th aren't making a connection, and so it is hard to connect with people. And so it's best to just step back, wait a few weeks, and see when this energy clears. Things are going to be different. We have a new lunar eclipse in just 2 weeks, and so 2 weeks from this solar eclipse. I don't know when you're watching this. But that's going to change the energy. When we look at your home life, it is directly related to your spending, and so things get better at home when you make very conscious choices about your spending. It also is that when you get rid of some of the stuff that you no longer need, if you're just buying and consuming, that can be this little rat race that you're on, which I know it's the year of the rat, so of course that would make sense. But what is really necessary now is that you make conscious purchases, that you really look at what it is you actually need, what helps the family, and maybe get rid of the other things. As you clear out things, the universe will bring you more opportunities, and you'll be able to see those opportunities because there won't be a lot of stuff in the way. And that's why in Feng Shui, we tell people to declutter and new opportunities come. When it comes to your career, you're doing the Neptune with that Mars, and that means taking action now and and really dissolving the boundaries that you have about this. What are your fears? What are your hesitations? And then do something on the spiritual side or the psychological side to remove those blocks. And that could be something like tapping or self-hypnosis or using something subliminal to help you speak to your subconscious and clear the blocks, because this is a really good energy. Having the Mars up there, that means that you can get something new, that you can even go farther in your current career if you want, because that Mars is there. This is a temporary energy. We know that your career is probably changing because of this eclipse, because your source of money is changing. However, right now, this Mars is helping you, but you need to clear out the blocks. You need to clear out the hesitation, or maybe this is just finding that motivation to go from not being productive to high productivity. So when we look at your money, while this is an eclipse, it still is wonderful that you have Sun, Moon, and Mercury and North Node in your second house of money. That means you can pull money from so many different places. Now, as I said before, because the eclipse is a 0 degree, it can feel like you don't know what to do. And so if that's the case, then just do anything, because that'll at least tell you if that was right or wrong. And then you can make adjustments from there. But this says that you can pull from both all these different places. First house, so if your name is on it, it can pull money. Second house, if you sell something, then money can be made. Third house, that means if you're communicating, then money can happen. Fourth house, that's money derived from real estate. That can be construction, repairs, home care, working at home, having a home business. So that's a lot of sources of money. And of course, where it's really centered, though, is that Moon is in the second house. That can cause you some worry about money. And that is where you have to see if that worry is legit. And if it is legit, to not bury your head in the sand, but say, all right, I need to go and find these other sources of money so that I can pull money in. Because, again, as I said, you may be worried about money, but this is an exceptional money house for this period. And this period being a solar eclipse lasts 6 months. So you have a better chance of making more money than ever in just a few months if you will open up your mind to the possibilities. When we look at your investments, what we have is Jupiter is conjunct that Pluto now, and so it is possibly overwhelming. You might be tempted to make some investments, and you might be tempted to go in big, and I'm going to warn you that that may not be the best idea, because this Pluto-Jupiter is like drinking out of a fire hose. It is so big, it's so overwhelming that it might just drown you on the spot. So that means that yes, what you invest in could go to the moon, but it could also go through the floor, and there's not a lot of variance in between. This also says, because it's ruled by that Saturn at 0 in your 9th house, that you need more information before you go forward on this, and that you need to talk to several people, because one source is not going to cut it. So go find some authorities in money making and ask their opinion. Listen to people on YouTube. They're going to have lots and lots of different views. Take all those different views, write those down, compare which parts are similar, which parts are diametrically opposed. Actually do some research on this. That Saturn says that you need to get an education about this before you make some big investment bets. When we look at your money derived from career, we have the Chiron there, and we have that nod from the Mars in Pisces in the 10th. So we do show that money is coming in from your career. That's fantastic. In fact, there is, it's an out of sign aspect with your moon, and so there is a little bit of accumulation going on. That means that you're certainly making more money than you did in some previous months we've had. and that there is opportunity to make some money going forward, so that's great. Again, this has that spiritual connection, so make sure that you approach your job with gratitude, you approach your managers with gratitude, because you don't know what kind of stress they're going on, what's going on in their own lives, and how stressed they are. So if you go in this Pisces, softer, more understanding, more spiritual way, you're going to get better benefits. When we look at your windfalls or high-risk investments, it's ruled by that Venus that's retrograde in your sign. So again, you might be really thinking of betting the farm in some place. And I'm going to say, with that retrograde and with that Pluto-Jupiter conjunct, that's super, super risky. I'm going to say, you want to go in very slowly. The Venus in Gemini would say, you put a little on the table, don't put everything on the table. So it does say that it's potential of windfalls coming to you, but they're small windfalls, little things that, maybe somebody gives you a ride and that saves you, a charge, or, saves you the opportunity of, like you didn't have to pay for gas or something, like small things. Somebody brings you a meal, somebody brings you a coffee, something like that. That sort of level of windfalls. I know your dreams are for the big stuff. That's coming later. But right now, look at the small things and get the education versus betting everything, risking everything, because that's going to be too risky. If you are very interested in the money in your chart, I did a program on Udemy called Finding the Hidden Money in Your Chart. And it is designed to take you through where you can see how your second house, 8th house, 11th house all work together to bring you money. There's a link in the description box below. Thank you for staying with me on this video all the way through. I appreciate it. Stay safe and let the stars light your way.